Welcome to Barca News. It is July 26, 2026, and I'm going to tell you about the shocking decision made by Barcelona's sporting department in regards to the center forward position. Also, what's going on with Ferran Torres? I'm going to give you an update. And finally, Barcelona have ruled out the signing of Aymeric Laporte, and I'm going to tell you why. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Boo. We'll begin this video with some really strange news because, ladies and gentlemen, it's reported that Barcelona are okay if they don't sign a center forward and they're willing to go through the season without one. Now, Barcelona's number one priority remains the signing of Julian Alvarez. Of course, Barcelona still have that offer out there to Atletico Madrid worth 100 million euros or 90 million euros fixed plus 10 million euros in variable. But of course, as Joan Laporte has said, that offer is not forever. That offer has an expiration date. And while the expiration date is the end of this month, the month of July. And while if you haven't looked at your calendars recently, the end of July is right around the corner. In fact, it's in a few days. And I say that because, my God, where has this year gone? I feel like New Year's was 2 weeks ago. But nope, July is almost done, which means we are 8 months through the year. That's crazy. But anyways, the offer is set to expire at the end of this month, which is in a few days. And Atletico Madrid have yet to budge, have yet to, sit down and negotiate with Barcelona. And of course, the question is, what are Barcelona going to do? Are they going to renew the offer? Are they going to make a higher offer? What's going to happen? Well, we have the answer because Barcelona have told reporters close to the club today that Barcelona are not going to go all out for Julian. Yes, they want Julian. Yes, he is their number one priority. Yes, they would love to sign him this summer, but if Atletico Madrid won't budge, they're not going to throw the club out the window. In other words, they're not just going to throw crazy amounts of money to make the signing happen no matter what. They're going to, you're going to keep that offer there, and then that's it. If Atletico don't respond, well, Barcelona are okay moving on and starting the season without a center forward. Now, it seems that Hansi Flick, again, would prefer, of course, the signing of a killer 9 that can score a lot of goals. But if Barcelona cannot, Hansi Flick thinks that he can work with what he has. After all, Barcelona have signed Karim Adeyemi and Anthony Gordon, 2 players that can play in the center forward position. Not to mention, Dani Olmo has played as a false 9. Also, Rafinha could technically play as a false 9. And then, of course, we do have Ferran Torres, who even though has been linked to an exit to PSG, he is still a player, and we're going to talk about it in a little bit. So, again, Barcelona's number one priority remains Julian. They want to sign Julian. They would love to have Julian. But if they cannot sign Julian, they're okay starting the season without a number 9 because Hansi Flick believes that, well, he has enough up front to go about his season. Now, what do I think about this? I think it's a little bit kamikaze. I think it's a little bit crazy to go through the season without a number 9, to not replace Robert Lewandowski. To me, that is playing with fire. I get the point that, yes, Anthony Gordon can play in that position, and so can Karim Adeyemi, and so can Rafinha, and so can Ferran, and so can Dani Olmo. Yes, we have a lot of options. And I'm sure Hansi Flick will still be able to win and do, have a great season. But I don't know if that would be enough to win the Champions League. Now, is it a rule to have a number 9? Of course not. There are teams who have done pretty well with that one, right? PSG, for example, they've won 2 Champions League back-to-back. They've won a historical sextuple. So is there a rule that you absolutely need a 9? No. But is it better to have one? Absolutely, right? It's kind of like with the center back position. People are always like, oh, we need a left-footed center back. Now, there's no rule that says you need one, but of course it is better to have one. So does this decision worry me? It does, but I want to be able to, I want to put my faith and trust in Hansi Flick. And if he thinks that he can, do well without one, then I gotta trust him, right? After all, Hansi Flick hasn't given me much reason to doubt him. But of course, I want to hear you guys' thoughts. What do you think about Barcelona being okay not signing a center forward. Again, I want to make this clear before people go crazy. This is not that Barcelona have given up on Julian. Barcelona's main objective still is to sign Julian Alvarez for that center forward position. However, if Atletico do not respond, then Barcelona are okay not signing a 9. In other words, Barcelona are not willing to just throw crazy amounts of money to make this signing happen one way or the other, which on one hand, I do applaud because, we did see what Barcelona did to sign Griezmann and Coutinho and Dembele, where they just threw everything they had at those signings to make sure they happen. So at least I'm glad Barcelona are not losing their mind here, where they know what their limit is and they're willing to offer it. And if Julian comes, great. But if not, that's okay. They're not going to throw more money. But on the other hand, again, it does worry me going through the season without a number 9. But of course, I want to hear you guys' thoughts. Let me know down below in the comment section. What do you think about this decision? Now, speaking of the number 9 position, of course, the big question is, Mo, what's going to happen? Is Ferran staying? Is he leaving? Because, of course, we all saw those reports about Ferran reaching a verbal agreement to negotiate with a transfer to PSG once the World Cup is over. The World Cup is over now. Of course, Ferran is on vacation right now. He's on vacation for the until August 10th. Players get 3-week vacation in the summer. Being that Ferran made it all the way to the final, of course, those 3 weeks start since the final. 1 week has passed, so he has 2 more weeks left on his vacation. He is set to report to training on August 10th. And of course, the question is, what's going to happen? Is he leaving? Is he not? What are Barcelona thinking? Well, it's reported that Barcelona have not heard from Ferran Torres. He has not approached them and said, hey, I want to leave. So for now, Barcelona aren't counting on Ferran Torres for next season. Now, of course, Ferran's contract does expire in the summer of 2027. Barcelona want to renew him. And that remains the plan, right? And Barcelona are going to continue with the idea to count on Ferran and to try to renew him as long as he doesn't say otherwise, right? Until Ferran actually goes to Barcelona's offices and say, I want to leave. Well, they are moving on with their business, counting on him and planning to renew his contract. Now, when is Barcelona planning to renew the contract? They're saying in September after the summer transfer market is closed. Why? For financial fair play reasons. Now, there is a caveat here because according to the contract that Barcelona negotiated with Manchester City back when they signed Ferran in 2022, Barcelona would have to pay Manchester City 8 million euros for the renewal of Ferran. That's a clause stipulated in there, which would mean that his signing would now be shot up to 63 million euros because Barcelona paid 55 for him, which to me is an insane price for Ferran Torres, who has been, good the last 2 seasons, but pretty terrible the first 4. But anyways, let me know what you guys think. Should Barcelona renew Ferran or should they sell him to PSG and then call it a day? To me, honestly, if PSG offer good money for him, I'm talking about 50 million plus, I would sell him and then take that 50 mil and sign someone else in his place. Someone like Fisnik Aslani, who is willing to come, who's been dying to come, or someone like Vlahovic, who would come for free and be the sub, and he's willing to take, substitute, starting position. It doesn't matter. That's my opinion. But of course, I'm curious to hear yours. And let's end today's video with the news that Barcelona have ruled out the signing of Aymeric Laporte. Of course, Laporte has offered himself to Barcelona once again, and Barcelona considered this signing, but only if someone from the club left, because of course Barcelona have an overbooking in the center back position. They have Coarsi, they have Gerard Martin, Araujo, Christensen, Alvaro Cortés, and Eric Garcia. That's 6 center backs right there. 7 if you count Jules Koundé, who can play in that position. But I'm not going to count him because he's pretty much a fullback now. So 6 center backs for 2 positions. So Barcelona considered the signing of Laporte, but only if one of their center backs left. This was kind of like the deal with, for example, Bernardo Silva. He offered himself to Barcelona, but Barcelona said, look, only if someone leaves, we can sign you. Nobody left. He ended up signing for Madrid. Same thing with Cucurella. He offered himself. Barcelona said, look, only if Balde or someone leaves, because, of course, Barcelona set to sign Cancelo. So that didn't work out. And then same here with Laporte. Barcelona had initially said, okay, if someone leaves, we would consider the signing of Laporte. Of course, yesterday, I told you about how Alvaro Moreto said that maybe it could be Christensen because even though he has renewed, his future is still not certain. I said, I don't know if I trust that report. However, if someone would to leave, I think it would be Araujo because he is According to sources in Uruguay, he is waiting for the preseason to see how many minutes he gets, and based on that, he can decide to either stay or leave. But either way, Barcelona have now decided whether someone leaves or not, they're not gonna go for Laporte for two reasons. Number one, Hansi Flick fully trusts Gerard Martin as the left center back, and he believes that if Laporte comes, that of course would relegate Gerard Martin to the bench, which would take minutes away from him. And Flick is happy with Gerard Martin and Pau Cubarsí. And the second reason is because Barcelona don't want another Messi transfer market with Athletic Club de Bilbao. As we know, Laporte is a Athletic Club de Bilbao player. He has a contract with them until 2028. Supposedly he has a release clause between 12 to 15 million euros, even though Athletic Club have come out and said, no, that's a lie. It's actually double. And you know how bad a relationship, actually, it's pretty broken between Barcelona and Athletic Club de Bilbao. So Barcelona don't want any mess. So they rather not, make another messy summer, another messy relationship with Athletic Club de Bilbao. So they have ruled out Laporte, even if someone leaves, because even if someone does leave, again, we still would have 5 center backs, 6 if you count Koundé, right? So Barcelona have ruled out the signing of Aymeric Laporte. And of course, I want to hear you guys' thought. What do you think about this decision? And now let's do a few comments. I know this is an unusual live, but let's do a few more comments. Let's see what everyone is thinking, and then we will end this. Let's see. Kaya says, hi, Mo. Do you happen to know if there's a bar in Vegas where Barca fans usually gather to watch the matches? Yes, there is. It's on Flamingo and at 215. What is it called? That's where the Las Vegas Peña hangs out at. Oh, my God. I used to hang out there before I moved here. Let me see. Oh, my God. What is it called? They hang out at Parkway Tavern. So Parkway Tavern is where the Las Vegas Peña hangs out at. So if you want to check them out, they're on Flamingo and 215. Let's see. ZT says, hey, Mo, hope all is good. I have a question, if you don't mind answering. Is Group E actually a plan B, A, or B, or is it all people on social media throwing out names for fun? So I've talked about this many times. Group E is the option B to Julian. If Julian doesn't come, Group E was going to be it, but now Bournemouth have said he's not for sale. So I guess he's neither plan A, B, or C. He's no plan because, well, Bournemouth have said that he is not, he's not for sale at all. Roy David says Darwin Núñez will come on loan deal. What do we have to lose? What do we have to lose? We have whatever salary we have to play on a bum that can't score a goal. I mean, they're talking about him going to the MLS now. No, thank you. Darwin Núñez, stay wherever you at. Let's see. Nathan says, I think Fistic Aslani will be a good decision, but hey, say what? I think Aslani will be a good decision, but as a backup decision. I don't think Aslani is ready to be Barcelona's starter. He would be good as a backup decision. But here's the thing. And this is what worries me about bringing someone like Aslani as a backup, is that it would perhaps maybe take away minutes or development from someone like Hamza Abdelkarim, right? Because Barcelona coaches are now thinking that Hamza should skip Barca Athletic and just go straight into the first team. Obviously, Hamza making it to the first team, he's not going to be the starter, right? He's still a kid. He's still learning. He just moved to Europe a few months ago. He's never played first division football, so he still needs to adapt, right? But if you bring Aslani in and Aslani becomes the backup, where does that leave Hamza, right? Hamza would have to be relegated to Barca Athletic, and in a season or two, he's going to be like, all right, well, Barcelona already have a 9 and they have Aslani, and where does that leave me? And he's going to end up wanting to leave. It's kind of like the whole Rodri situation, right? A lot of people are like, oh, Mo, we should sign Rodri. And even though I would love to have Rodri, don't get me wrong, I think he's the best 5 in the world. I mean, he's key in Spain winning the World Cup. He was key in Manchester City winning that treble. But I still wouldn't want to sign Rodri. And I know it sounds crazy because I think Barcelona with Rodri would be absolutely amazing. But at what cost? And well, the cost will be Marc Bernal, right? I think Marc Bernal is our next Sergio Busquets. I think Marc Bernal will become the best midfielder or the best holding midfielder in the world, right? The Masia has blessed us with Lamine Yamal, who's the best attacker, with Cubarsí, who's the best defender, and I think Marc Bernal will become the best holding midfielder in the world. He is a little bit behind Cubarsí and Lamine, but only because he blew his ACL, but I think he will get there. If you bring someone like Rodri, yes, Barcelona will be great, but it will be great for the next 3-4 years. And then what happens to Bernal, right? Bernal, there's two things going to happen if Rodri comes. Either Bernal leaves because half of Europe are after him, and all these clubs like City, like Chelsea, like Arsenal, they're going to offer him a starting spot. And he's going to be like, all right, do I want to be a sub for the next 4 years to Rodri, or do I want to go somewhere else where I could be a starter? So bringing Rodri would risk losing Bernal. Or if Bernal does decide to stay, that would cripple his growth. And people say, no, Mo, Rodri at Barca would help Bernal because he would teach him things. In theory, yes, that sounds good. But in real life, in real application, 19-year-olds need to play. And if they don't play, they plateau, right? They stop growing, they stop developing. So bringing Rodri, yes, would make Barcelona great for the next 3-4 years, but keeping Bernal would make us great for the next 10 to 15 years. And which one do I prefer? I prefer the long-term plan, right? Because bringing Rodri is just going to sacrifice Bernal. And I rather not bring Rodri and have Bernal for the next 10, 15 years than bring Rodri and be great for the next 3-4 years, but sacrifice Bernal. Because again, people might say, oh, Rodri would help Bernal. In real life, that doesn't work. Players who are 18, 19, 20 years old are in critical stages of their career where they need to play. And if they don't play, their growth stunts, they plateau. That's a reality. This is why we see, for example, Barcelona selling and loaning players all the time who are very promising because they reach a stage where they need to keep playing to grow, but maybe they cannot get minutes because they're not ready for the first team or there's someone better than them in the first team. So then Barcelona ends up selling them or loaning them because they need to play. And Rodri coming to Barcelona would stunt Bernal's growth. So would I love to have Rodri? Yeah, absolutely. Every club would have. Should we sign him? Absolutely not. And I feel like maybe bringing someone like Aslani would do that to Hamza, even though I think Aslani would be great as a backup. But let's see. Nathan says there's no problem with Martin, but we really do need another left-footed center back to rotate. Our team plays a lot of games. Look at how Martin was so tired at the end of the season. Yeah, but I mean, I guess that's why we have Araujo. That's why we have Christensen. That's why we have Eric Garcia. That's why we have Alvaro Cortez. Eric Garcia actually does a really good job playing right next to Pau Cubarsí. In fact, they won Olympic gold together. So yeah, do we need to rotate Gerard? Of course. But it's not like we don't have options, right? Demon says we should have pushed harder for Joao Pedro. Well, it's not that we didn't push hard enough. Chelsea said he's not for sale in period, right? It's kind of like what Bournemouth are doing with Group B. It's not about money. It's not about the price. It's kind of like he's not for sale, and that's it. It's kind of like with Lamine Yamal, right? It's not about the price. Lamine Yamal is not for sale. A club can come and offer us $500 million, and it doesn't matter, right? He's going to be, hey, sorry, but we're not interested. Laurana X says, hey, Mom. Hi, Dad. To my knowledge, kidding, Gordon for 80 is not bad compared to Yan Diomande. Gordon actually has had a better season. Man, the market is so skewed, by the way. It's insane because, yeah, I did see that Madrid are about to pay 100 plus for Yan Diomande, which, no offense to Yan Diomande, I think he's a credible player, but he's not a player that has really proven anything, right? He's played, one season in the Bundesliga and then a decent World Cup. I'm not saying that Yan Diomande doesn't have potential. He does, but to pay 100 million euros for an unproven player, that is crazy to me. That is crazy to me. So, yeah, I guess it does make the 70 plus 10 for Gordon seem like a pretty good deal because Gordon is a lot more experienced, right? A player that's in his prime and a player that has spent his whole career at the Premier League, right? So, I don't know, man. Logan says, hello, brother. Is there any chance we can get Haaland? No, we cannot get Haaland. Haaland would cost... Right now, his market value is 220 million. He has a contract until, 2034, 2036, 2035, some insane amount of contract, which obviously, what does that mean is the more years you have left on your contract, the higher the clubs charge above your market value. And if Haaland's market value is 220 million, above that, what are we talking about? 250, 300? No, it's just not possible. Jamesh says, I think we should Ferran rather than wasting more money on players we don't deserve or whose value not that much. And when the time comes, boom, bring Haaland. I think we should all move on from the whole Haaland thing. I think it's just not a possibility. Let's see. Flyboy says, saying that Barca would go ahead without a number 9 might be a tactic to pressure Alvarez to get off his ass and insist that Atleti let him go. Yeah. That could be two. Lurad says Bernal will break out this year with Frankie out. Also, that gives Gabi more time to play as well. Wouldn't be surprised if Frankie to get sold next season if Bernal performs. I mean, look, people keep saying this, but they don't realize Bernal has already taken Frankie's spot. Bernal was the starter in his debut season. Never played first division football, and he was already starting next to Pedri, right? If you go back to 2024, Bernal was the starter, but then he blew his ACL. And then, we saw Frankie play, and then we saw Casado play, and then he recovers. And then again, it's Bernal, the starter next to Pedri. So I don't think Bernal is going to take Frankie's spot this season. He already has. All right. A lot of people ask, who's going to start in the place of Frankie next to Pedri? Bernal. The real question is who's going to sub Bernal in the place of Frankie? Because Bernal has already taken Frankie's spot. But yeah, I mean, this year, I'm sure he's going to keep growing because every season, last season, he only played half a season because he was recovering. This is going to be hopefully his first full season. And that's obviously going to help him a lot, continue growing and developing. The unknown word says we keep on doing the same mistakes every season, which is to trust this defense, which always cracks at important stages of our season. Come on. I don't think that, like I've said it a million times, I don't want to repeat myself. Our problem is not a defensive one. Our problem was an offensive one because, with our high line, we're always going to concede goals. It doesn't matter who you have in our defense. And if you don't have the attackers up front that can outscore the opponent, then it doesn't matter. We're not going to win because, again, you can sign 4 Maldinis and you're still going to concede. And if you cannot outscore your opponent, then it doesn't matter. Barca Got Culture says people talking about Haaland making him almost 600K a week. Never going to happen. Yeah, I mean, I've said it here on the channel a million times. Haaland is not a possibility, but I don't know. People keep insisting on it. And it's like, I don't know what else to do to drive the message to people's head that Haaland is not happening. It's like maybe I should just print it on a sign and put it behind me. And that way I don't have to say it. That way people just turn on the video and see in the back, Haaland is not possible. Get it out of your head. Get it out of your head. But anyways, let's see. What else? Eddie says a team that says a player isn't for sale gets trumped if the player demands an exit. True, but it looks like Atletico Madrid would rather see their club burn rather than sell a player who doesn't want to be there because Simeone doesn't want him there. Simeone, understands that, hey, if a player doesn't want to be here, it's best that they leave because that affects not only the player's performance, but affects everyone else around him too. And he understands that. And they say Alemany also wants Alvarez gone, but it's, Miguel Angel Gilmarin and Cerezo who are insisting, who would rather see their locker room explode over selling Julian to Barca, which I don't know what their problem is, but hey, it's their problem. I mean, I guess what do they have to lose? They're a bum-ass club, Shockwave says, buy Laporte, buy Aslani, keep Ferran, bring Cancelo. And one right back. Also bring good gritty midfielder for backup to Bernal. I think at this point, we would take Goretzka. We probably save. Buy Laporte. We have 7 center backs. We don't need Laporte. Buy Aslani. Again, I would be okay with having Aslani. The problem is he would, derail the Hamza Abdelkarim's minutes. Keep Ferran. I'm okay with keeping Ferran. Only if Barcelona, especially if they're not going to sign a 9, we're going to have someone. Bring Cancelo. That's the plan. Bring one right back. We have 4 right backs. Why would we need another one? And yeah, that's about it. And then let's do one last comment and then we'll end this. But Logan says, do you think Barca can go without a proper striker that can outscore their opponent and they still want us to have high hopes for the Champions League? I personally think it will be a very big problem to not have a striker. But if Hansi Flick believes that with the firepower he has up front, with Lamine, with Adeyemi, with Rafinha, with Gordon, with Ferran, if he believes that that's enough, who am I to question him? I mean, are there teams that don't have 9s that do really well? Yes, PSG have won 2 Champions League back-to-back without a 9. But I personally think it would be a problem. But in Hansi Flick, we trust. Anyways, that is all. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to go take out my dog sleep because tomorrow is a new week. And of course, tomorrow is podcast day. So we'll see you guys there. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. And as always, peace, Garza.